What's driving this steep increase in fake accounts? Where are they coming from?
Emily, some of it is coming from new tools that people are using to try to create large amounts of fake accounts in an automated way. And understanding that, our engineers have really invested in building systems that can catch it. And so we've gotten a lot better. And over the last quarter, we've seen those efforts pay off.
Are they from any particular countries or any particular groups?
I don't have any other information to share on that. I would just say that we see fake accounts created all over the world, and when we build our systems, we're focused on tackling that at a global level.
Now, we just heard what Zuckerberg had to say about encryption on the call. Will this shift towards encryption, towards privacy, will that erase some of the progress that you're making?
Well, Mark pointed to some of the challenges that we will see. And, you know, I spent my career before I came to Facebook for more than a decade. I was a federal criminal prosecutor. So I've seen the importance of law enforcement being able to access content using search warrants and other things in a very valid way, in a very important way. So we're mindful of that, and that's one of the reasons that as we look to find what is the best privacy model for our community, we're also focused on what do we need to do to keep that community safe.
Meantime, to that point, you've announced a new oversight board for all Facebook content decisions. What will that look like, and when will it happen?
The Oversight Board is a new initiative that we're trying to launch by the end of this year. And basically what this will be is a group of people acting independently from Facebook, people with relevant expertise who can look at specific decisions we've made around specific pieces of content. So somebody's posted something, we removed it, they asked us to take another look at it. We say, yeah, we're still going to keep this off our site. They can go to this external board and ask the board to take a look at it. And whatever decision the board makes will be binding on us. If they say put the content back up, we'll do that.
So we've just seen elections in India, very challenging. You had to moderate content in like 10 different languages. What are some of the learnings there that you will then take forward?
We're really focused on making sure that we're doing our part to keep elections free and fair. And as part of that, we've built a team that is talking to election commissions around the world and looking to understand what are the unique challenges that elections might face in different areas.
So what are some of those challenges? And I mean, in speaking of India in particular, what did you learn in this most recent situation that could help you in other countries?
Well, in all of the elections, we're learning different things. And we've actually put out some posts in our newsroom where we've addressed the different actions we've taken with regard to specific elections, including in India. But one learning I would say we've had across the board is that people will try to use fake accounts in a number of different ways, including to spread spam and including to share misinformation. And while much of that is not relevant to elections, it certainly could be. And so when we think about how to keep elections free and fair, one of the things we are investing in is making sure we're removing fake accounts as quickly as we can. We now remove more than 1 million accounts a day at the time of upload.
So we've got a much-watched U.S. presidential election coming up in, less than 18 months at this point. How well prepared do you think Facebook will be by that point to avoid what happened 2 years ago?
We're preparing now. We're working very hard to make sure that we have all of the measures in place to make sure we're doing our part.
So on the call, various executives spoke about the challenges of moderating content in different countries and how you're expecting various governments to put certain laws into place about how content is moderated in their particular country, which will likely differ from country to country. How will you deal with different rules in different countries when there are, 200 different countries?
It is a real challenge, and this isn't a new challenge for us. Our policies are global, meaning that the rules we have for bullying and harassment or hate speech are the same in France as they are in South Africa. So we're used to dealing with very different norms around speech. When we look at different laws in different countries, the issue gets more and more complicated. It's one of the reasons we think it's important to have the conversations with regulators early and help to make sure that the regulation that we do think should be in place is also very thoughtful, informed regulation.
Now, by users, Facebook is already bigger than any country. Even the number of fake accounts you just took down in a single quarter is more than the population of any country. Do you ever think that Facebook might be too big for its own good, and that maybe there is something to this argument to breaking up the company?
When I hear people asking those questions about whether we're too big, I think a lot of them come from concerns about whether we are doing our part to be responsible. Responsible about safety, responsible about privacy, and that's why we're doing things to show people that we are being responsible. It includes efforts like today's releasing the transparency report showing what we're removing from the site. It's also why Mark is calling for more regulation, and we're engaging a lot with regulators and experts around the world. And that's also why we're working with companies, big and small, to do all we can to keep these communities safe.
So what about the breakup argument? I mean, we hear new people sort of making that argument every day, including people who've been close to Facebook. Do you think that argument, do you think they have a point?
Again, I think when people ask these questions, it's important to find out why they're asking them. And in my experience, people are asking them because they want to know what we're actually doing to be responsible. One big effort for us is not only just working with the regulators and experts, but also telling what we're doing. So when we put out today's report, this wasn't our first report, but it was our most thorough report to date. And that is our goal. Our goal is to be very open and to increase that openness over time. So in future reports, you can expect to see more and more data about what we're doing.
So where do you see the most room for improvement? Is there one particular area where Facebook continues to struggle and you would like to see improvement?
You know, across the board, it's really important for us to work together not only on writing the right policy lines, but the way that we use people and technology to enforce these lines. And, you know, if you listen to the call today, you heard that we had somebody from our product team, we had somebody from our operations team, and we had me joining Mark. And that's because you really can't effectively enforce these policies without investing in all of these areas. When I joined the company 6 years ago, we had hundreds of people reviewing content. Now we have more than 15,000 people around the globe speaking dozens of languages, reviewing content using new and better tools than they had years ago to try to get it right, and responding to reports, the vast majority of reports, within 24 hours. So we've made a lot of improvement, but it's going to continue to be challenging, and we're going to have to keep investing in these areas to get it right.
So you're managing Facebook's response to things like shootings, plane crashes, where, you know, the difference between good and evil is very clear. How is Facebook's response to the gray areas where there's less of an obvious answer to what is right, what is wrong, what goes up, what should come down? How is Facebook response to those situations changing?
It gets very difficult at the edges, and particularly around things like hate speech or bullying and harassment, where often you need somebody who has contextual knowledge about what exactly is going on. Sometimes it's context we won't have. Sometimes it's context we can get from outside experts or groups that understand, safety groups or civil society groups that will understand these issues. And that's why we actually work with hundreds of organizations in the crafting of our policies to make sure that we have the latest information on what's the latest self-harm or bullying trend in this country, or what are some of the slurs that might be used to attack people based on their race in this other country. That's something that we do all the time, and we're constantly improving our policies based on that feedback.
Now, we're waiting for a ruling from the FTC on privacy issues at Facebook. Facebook has said you're waiting for this ruling as well. How could that ruling, you know, if there are any privacy oversight changes or any oversight that's handed over to them, how could that change the way you do your job and how you make these decisions?
Well, you know, I obviously can't comment on that. What I can tell you is we're really focused on making sure not only that we're doing all we can for our community on safety, but also that we are keeping information private and we are respecting what people expect when they come to Facebook. When you've heard Mark call for regulation, he didn't just call for regulation on the area of safety and content, but also on privacy. So these are conversations that we are having with regulators, and we want very much to continue.